Okay, in this video I just wanted to have a quick look at the new DJI Flip launch and just sort of, what it is, where it sits in the DJI lineup, who's it for. And personally, as somebody that's used the DJI Mini drones for years, I've made quite a lot of content around those drones. And for me, it's one of those things where I find like the weight to the size is like a perfect kind of combo. So the DJI Flip is like a really interesting sort of drone to come alongside that. So, the way this is kind of been marketed, you can kind of see just in the video, we're just going to run through the kind of the main specs for it, what kind of packages are there, and a quick sort of comparison with some other DJI drones. So, and like I say, just to see where it kind of sits in that lineup, whether it's worth an upgrade to you or not. And, the way this has kind of been marketed is very much just kind of, it's almost aimed at that kind of solo content creator market, a little bit like the Neo was. So you've got things like controllerless palm launch and AI subject detection. It sort of harps back to the days of the Spark, but it's much more than that. It's much more than the kind of the Neo kind of had to offer. And a lot of people were kind of quite critical about the design of this. It's an interesting folded design, to say the least. But I mean, I don't really care what it looks like, so long as it's reliable. And what you've got here, you can see straight off the bat, you've got prop guards built into the drone that are foldable. So straight away, you can't have those sort of older arms where the props all folded in, the arms folded in into that package. So now it's kind of more of like a long design as opposed to how it was before. But to be honest, I don't think that's a bad thing. The arms on the mini drones could be quite brittle at times. Certainly if you hit something, they were quite susceptible to crack in, and then you had to get the drone in for service. So to me, I think that's quite a good kind of sensible design. It looks quite sort of bulky and sturdy. And the addition of those prop guards, like built in and foldable, so you don't have to remove them to fold it up, I think that's great. And the real benefit of it is that you can see here it sits in that 249 gram or sub 250 gram market. That's with the prop guards on, which the Pro, they just couldn't quite do that on the Mini Pro. So that's really good. You've got it is missing a couple of things that the Mini Pro has. So the sort of trade-off is that you've got forward obstacle avoidance, you've got a downward obstacle avoidance, obviously for landing, and but you don't have that kind of the rear obstacle avoidance that the Mini 3 Pro had, and you don't have the vertical and sideways obstacle avoidance that the Mini 4 Pro had. So there's a little bit of a trade-off there. But if you've got your prop guards on, whatever you hit, whether that be a tree, a building, a person, the prop guards should protect not only the drone but also whatever you hit. So that does help, because if you hit something with a Mini Pro, it just absolutely obliterates the props if you hit something hard with it. And as I say, in the UK, the sub 250 gram market is, or the flying requirement is really good, because that gives you quite a lot of freedom. There's only a couple of things you have to do. We talked about that in the Mini Pro video, in the Neo video. So I'll link to that up in the corner actually, so you just know what the requirements are for you if you're in the UK for this type of drone. And then really you can sort of see, like the top line specs for it, which they always do on every drone. You've got your sensor size. The AI subject tracking has been sort of a big one on this. You've got 4K 60 HDR, same as the Mini 3 Pro, 31-minute flight time. And then we'll kind of go through and we'll do like the quick kind of comparison on it. But you can see there it's kind of new folding design, which is, like I say, it's quite interesting. It's certainly a bit of a change from the others. You can see there you've got the all of the standard kind of pre-programmed modes where you can kind of do all of that. You can see here you've got slow motion 4K 100 FPS, which actually the excuse me, the DJI Mini 3 Pro wasn't capable of. So it's actually got higher video specs than that. You've got vertical view. which is a really nice feature actually. I really like that on the Mini Pro 3. So like that's a really nice feature you've got there. Again, you've got 10-bit D-Log M, which again even the Mini Pro 3 doesn't have. It's got Cine D. No D-Log. It does shoot 10-bit for some of the video modes, but you don't get D-Log M. So if you're somebody that likes to grade footage and stuff, you know, this is even a little step up above from that. So the Mini Pro 4 did have that, and we'll run through that second, just in the in like a quick sort of comparison of where I feel this kind of fits in. But you can see. We'll look at that in the shop, what you've got there, but you can see it's the DJI RC2, and you've got your kind of batteries, which again they're totally different to the Mini series, which you'd expect. This isn't part of the Mini series. It's sort of it's its own thing. So let's have a quick look at the side bit. So these are all the accessories you can get it with. Like I say, we'll have a quick look in the shop, but. You've got the original RCN3 controller. So the RCN3 is the one where you put your own phone into the top of it, and it doesn't have a built-in screen essentially. So you use the DJI app on your phone, clip it into the top, or in some cases you can use like a smallish tablet or something like that, depending on how you kind of hook it up. But you can see you've got the this kind of combo plus a battery. And then you've got the RC2, and then they'll also do like a Fly More, which we'll look at in the other one. You can see it's got this little kind of hub. So if we jump into the shop here, the pricing of it, I honestly think is quite reasonable. You know, the Pro series for the Fly More, you were looking more towards, into usually just about into the kind of thousands for it. So let's just quickly look at that. So we've got the Mini Pro 4 here. And then, so 869. The Fly More combo, 979. So just under £1,000 really for the Mini Pro 4. And I'm not saying the Flip is better than the 4. I'll kind of discuss like the differences in a minute, but in terms of price, I do think that is pretty well priced, to be honest. So you've got the Flip with the non-screen version of the controller, the RCN3, and then you've got the one with the DJI RC2. I've got the RC1 with the Mini 3 Pro. And I've got to say, actually, I do really like that controller. For me, I'm always going to upgrade to the one with the screen now, because I like to have my phone separate. I really like the controller design of these. I think it's really good. There are some fiddly bits, like the way the sticks work and stuff. I don't like that, but in general, it's a good upgrade of a controller. I think it's really decent, and the battery life on it's really good as well. And you can see there Mini Pro combo. The Flip combo. So you've got the drone, the RC2 with the screen, 2 batteries, and it comes in at 659, which, like I say, I honestly think is good. You'll need a card with it as well, obviously, so it's worth grabbing a card, and that's a 256 gig for like £31. So that's pretty cheap, really. And then what we'll do is we'll just jump into here. So what I've done is I've just put, like I say, the Neo, I don't feel like it's really comparable with the Flip. I feel like the Flip is a lot more capable than the Neo. Like the Neo's great, don't get me wrong, but the Flip really is like, to me, it's a different category of drone. It's more sits alongside the Mini 3 Pro and the Mini 4 Pro. And to be honest, you'll see in a second, but the order of them, I'll kind of show you where I kind of feel that they fit. But you can see a lot of this is very similar. Your max horizontal speed. You've got a different body design, obviously, to this, which is it's not bulkier, but you've got those prop guards on there, so you can see the max speed for the Flip is a little bit slower than the Mini series drones. You've got slightly less max takeoff altitude. Not really an issue with a drone. Like, you shouldn't really be, pushing right to the edge of that. So it's not like an issue, but it's just something to be aware of. That is quite kind of significant between the two, but it's not an issue. The max flight time, you can see, again, it's not like huge, but you've got a few minutes there, which does make a little bit of difference when you're up flying. And with these, you've got the battery plus. So obviously they push you over that 250 gram weight range. So, if you're looking to be in the sub 250 category, you're only really missing like a few minutes of flight time. So this is pretty good, really. And that's with prop guards on as well. Like I say, obstacle avoidance, it's not there, but it kind of makes up for it in other areas a little bit. Again, max hovering time, couple of minutes out from the other ones, not a huge issue. Flight distance, 14 kilometers as opposed to 18. Again, you probably shouldn't really be going like 18 kilometers away with the drone. The wind speed resistance is the same, so that's great. Max pitch angle is actually slightly more, so you've got 45 degrees on that. The operating temperatures, they're usually more or less the same. I think they do these to kind of standard, so minus 10 to 40 degrees Celsius. And then you can see on here, they use the same satellite systems, GPS, Galileo, Dubois, Bedoy, I'm not really sure about that. And then you've got like your hovering accuracy and things like that, which again, I think all of this is done to standard. So it's very kind of precise hovering accuracy, which it sort of all sits together. The DJI Flip actually has internal storage similar to the Mini Pro 4, which is quite nice. On the the Mini 3 Pro didn't have any. And you've got the similar on this. There is a 48 megapixel option on this, but they haven't actually stated it here. But essentially, you're more or less looking a similar size sensor or same size sensor. But they've not mentioned the effective 48 megapixels. But you can see on here, same field of view, same focal length on the lens. The aperture's the same, f1.7. And the focus again is the same, 1 meter to infinity. And then you can see on here, we've got with the Flip, you can see, as I was saying before, we've got D-Log M, which we didn't have on the Mini 3. We had Cinelike D, which it's actually in a different section, but you can see on here you have HLG as well as an additional for the Mini 4 Pro, so it's actually got a little bit more on that one as well. And then the shutter speeds, to be honest, it's not massively, there's not a huge amount in any of that really. The image sizes, again, they're all the same, 8604 by 6048. And then you've got the still photography modes, all 12 megapixel, and you can see here you actually do get 48 megapixel on here, but then the single shot on the Mini 3 Pro, it says you don't, and then you get the 48 on the Mini 4 Pro. And then you've got like you've got a few burst shooting features and so on. You don't get some of the you haven't got like panorama and on this, but that might not be something everybody wants anyway, so it's probably not a huge issue. The actual image processing for it, so JPEG, DNG, so DNG is your raw format, JPEG obviously is sort of a bit more compressed. And then you can see here, like I say, this is one of the big ones that I was quite surprised about. It does 4K 100 out of the box, which I think is, that's impressive. That's obviously the same as the DJI Mini 4 Pro. So yeah, I was pretty impressed with that, to be honest. I think that's a really good option, and I also like the like I say, I like the kind of vertical shooting modes and things like that as well. I think they're really good. So there's kind of they're quite nice things to have. But you've got HD up to 100 frames, 4K up to 100 frames. So pretty nice specs there. It doesn't do the 200 that the Mini 4 Pro does, but there might not be that many people kind of wanting that higher frame rate. That is a really high frame rate, especially for sort of aerial kind of drone shots. So, and you can see on here, it's no longer doing kind of MOV. It's just MP4. You've got a similar bit rate. Well, it is the same bit rate, 150 megabits per second. You've got XFAT on here, which, you know, the last few kind of supported. This is the color profiles I was talking about. So you've got D-Log M rather than D-Cine-like, which is nice. You know, I feel like that's quite a good step up, really. And then you've got 10-bit as well available on this, which is really nice. So you've got some good modes there. Like I say, you don't have HLG. There might not be that many people out there kind of craving that, because it's you know, it's quite a specific HDR format, but it's yeah, you know, some people might want it. And then you've got things like digital zoom. I'll be honest, I don't really ever touch any of that, so I'll just kind of go past it. You've got your tilt and roll axes, you know, like all your mechanical ranges for the gimbal, which is, you know, it is a bit off from the other one. You know, like the roll on it isn't, you know, it's not as flexible as the Mini Pro, but it's still pretty good. The pan and the tilt axis, you know, not that far off. And then I think a lot of people thought this was going to be like a 2-axis gimbal, so, you know, it's comparatively it's pretty good, to be honest. And then you've got your sensing types. So you can see on here, this is one of the big things. Like I say, you've got with the Mini Pro 4, it was like a full 3D. You know, it can judge where things are, fly over them, fly around them. The Mini 3 was good, like it had that kind of forward, backward and downward, but when you were doing things like if you were doing like circle, obviously it could just fly sideways into something because you had no sideways obstacle avoidance. The new Flip, you've got the kind of downward sensor, which obviously, like I say, for landing and things like that, it's important. All the drones have that. And then you've got this forward 3D infrared sensing that you had on the 4. But like I say, you've got those prop guards, so if you hit something sideways, hit something backwards, you know, you should be bouncing off of it, or rather than the props getting broken and it just ending up hitting the floor. So I mean, that's the idea anyway behind the kind of new design. And then you can see here, this is like the measurement ranges for all of them, which I won't go into, but you can see just a very quick overview. They've all got forward obstacle detection. The Flip doesn't have any of the others except for downward, and you can kind of see like the Pro, like I say, had some of the others but didn't have upward and lateral. And yeah, that's sort of come into, you know, the end of the drone specs. And then you've got the remote controller for it. So you've got the they're both using the 04 transmission and then 03 for the Mini 3 Pro, but it was a different controller that was using the RC1. And then you can see the specs for it. They should all be very similar, because the actual controller is, you know, I think more or less the same. I might be slightly wrong with that. I think it's the same RC2 controller that has been used in other kind of drones, but you can see the you've got like the speeds and things as well here, which is actually it's up there with the 4, whereas the you know, the original or the Mini 3 Pro is kind of slightly off on those kind of speeds, so it's a bit quicker at getting that footage kind of off there. And then you've got things like your latency, which is, again, these are mostly standards, I think, so they just try and always get it to more or less that. And then the battery capacity, interestingly, is actually much bigger, but you get less flight time on it. So I mean, it must go into some of the additional features in there that is doing that. That, like, you know, these ones have got the obstacle avoidance, smaller batteries, but you're still getting a bigger flight time. And then that is kind of mostly it, really. You've got things like your kind of your charging times and stuff, which actually sort of sits in line with the 4 again. The 3 Pro is a little bit quicker. And then, yeah, like I say, the remote controller. So I would kind of really, if I was putting these all up against each other, I'd really say now the Mini 3 Pro sort of sits at the bottom, and then it's the Flip, and then the Mini 4 Pro. So and again, it just depends what you need. You know, the Mini 4 Pro, I feel it's more of like it's a better drone for somebody that's kind of manning it with a remote and stuff, whereas this one's got more of those kind of features that you could just use as like you can let it fly off a little bit, and it's not so much of a concern that it's going to get damaged. You've got all the obstacle avoidance on this, but it still is quite worrying that one of the arms is going to break or the props are just going to get broken. Whereas this one's a little bit more like the Neo. You could just sort of let it bounce around off things, and it should kind of be okay. So it's like I say, it can be a little bit maybe more autonomous, but you always need some kind of fail safe to be able to kind of get it back. But it's I feel like it sits above the Mini 3 Pro. I've like I said, I've currently got the Mini 3 Pro, and if I was looking for an upgrade, I certainly wouldn't discount that over the Mini 4 Pro. I feel like that's it's a nice little upgrade over the Mini 3 Pro, certainly over the Mini 3 or the Neo. It's a really nice offering of a drone. I think it's really good. But yeah, it'd be interesting to know what your kind of comments are on it, or what your thoughts are on it, and just let me know in the comments. And if you want to see more kind of content about the DJI drones, you can check out the playlist on this channel, and please subscribe.